Even if only the two of us see it.
Okay, good to go.
We're good to go. Alrighty. Welcome, friends. Here we are.
Taking a deep breath.
Calm,
We've just spent the
professional.
last few minutes getting all our sillies out.
This is insane. It's our first guest in the studio today
For season 2.
for season 2. That's
Right?
right. We're like the Kardashians.
Yes. We're just like them.
Okay, so this is our first time having a guest in the studio, and this is our first time with this format for a guest. So before we intro our
Right.
guest today, maybe you can kind of ground us in our vision around speaking. We're going to be speaking to our guest about their chapter 2.
Okay. I wish you had prepared me for this a little bit more. But we thought it would be really great and fun on the podcast when we bring in a guest, which we often do. We bring in a lot of business leaders, HR, recruitment, talent acquisition leaders. And instead of just focusing on their career highlights and leadership journey, we want to talk to them about their chapter 2. So if you've been following us, you know our new brand, Chapter 2 Meditation. And it's all about, the impetus is when you pick up the pen and write the story that is your life. So we really believe that everybody has a chapter 2. There's the life you thought you were going to live, or the things you grew up thinking, I've got to do this, or I have to be that, or all of the expectations that get put on us. And then there's this moment in all of our lives where we just go, hold up.
You can just sing again.
I was going to sing, I won't.
Please.
And we go, that doesn't really fit for me. That doesn't work. And
Mm.
here's what I'm going to do. Here's what's important to me. Here's what's meaningful. And so we're going to ask our guests around their chapter 2 and see what happens.
I can't wait.
And if it doesn't work out, we'll go back to the old format where we start drinking with our guests
And take our shirts off.
and take our shirts off. Okay?
Love it.
And we have the most exciting
I
guest.
can't even look at her. She's too beautiful.
She's
She's
too
warming my
perfect.
heart. Yesterday, I told her she would be my dream sister-in-law.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Me
My
too.
dream. She's my dream friend. She is
Yes.
such a good friend of ours, but she is also so many other things.
She's an exceptional human being in all areas.
Mhm.
Her career, one of them.
So our guest today is Azmina Kara, who is the Senior Director of People and Culture
Woo, woo, woo,
at
woo, woo,
Monos
woo!
Travel.
Monos Travel. And I actually just purchased some Monos Travel suitcases.
I was going to ask you about that. Did you order me one?
I didn't order you one.
Oh, come on.
I actually ordered them for my trip to Australia in April.
Rude.
But they just released a new bag that we're both going to
Yeah.
get. So I need to do that. Okay.
Okay. We'll
But-
loop back to that. We're going to talk about their
Yes.
product later.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so Azmina has over 20 years of talent acquisition and HR experience. She has worked for global companies such as Altus HR, Lululemon Athletica, and Cactus Club Cafe. She is a mother, a wife, a career woman, and the most amazing friend to both of us. Welcome,
Aw,
Azmina
thank you.
Kara.
Thank you for having me.
We are so
that
thrilled.
was such a nice introduction.
Ah!
I'm so touched.
We love you, clearly.
We adore you. And you should have seen our
Thank you.
pre-podcast ritual. Alicia was just embracing her, holding her. We were warming up,
Nuzzling her.
nuzzling her. I wish we could do this with all of our guests. Just touch
I
them.
don't think we're allowed to. Okay, so Azmina, you heard, we gave you a little bit of a heads up around our chapter 2 theme. So let's just get right into it. When we say to you, tell us about a chapter 2 moment that impacted your life or that you want to share with us, what comes to mind for you?
Gosh, that's a loaded question. So I put a lot of thought into this, actually. And I don't think it was an actual moment. I think it was a period in time in my life.
Okay.
So as you mentioned, I used to work for Lululemon. And prior to that, I just lived life day by day, one step at a time, didn't put a lot of thought into what's next? What do I want in my life? Like, what's going to fulfill me? I didn't even think about it.
Right.
And then I remember joining Lululemon. And for anyone that has no exposure to Lululemon, they are very focused on vision and goals. And I remember the first time that they asked me to do my vision and goals, and it was a very difficult task for me. And I remember looking around and reading other people's goals, and I was like, yeah, that sounds good. I'll put it on mine, and I had no interest in these goals. It was things like, and you both know this, it was
Oh,
like
God.
run a 5K. Like that's my worst nightmare. Like had no interest in that. But it felt right at the time. And I pinned them on the wall. And the idea about pinning them on the wall was that you hold yourself accountable to others, or others hold you accountable. And I just looked at that, and that wasn't my North Star. None of those things on that piece of paper were lighting me up or exciting me. But what it did teach me is the foundation, which is vision and goals, the whole idea of vision and goals, and putting thought into, you have one life and how do you want to live it? And, thinking 10 years from now was just so far away for me. But thinking how I could set my life up a year from now, that was attainable.
Right.
So that was great, because that actually gave me a little bit of a shift in perspective. And then as I started to like evolve as a person and get more life experience, like I tie a lot of my experience back to work, because a lot of who I am as Azmina has evolved through work, like the relationships I've built, or, the work that I've been able to get up to has evolved me. So I think I just got more experience. I felt more confident in myself. I started to build more relationships. I traveled more. And that's when I started to see more of a purpose. Like I started to notice those little things that fueled me or got me out of bed every morning. And then you asked me, when was my chapter 2? And honestly, I think a lot of people could maybe feel the same, but it was during the pandemic.
Wow.
When the entire world was forced to pause, like stop, like everybody reevaluated, like health was a big thing for people. They were just, we had to really think about people that lost people, or people that weren't well during that time. For the first time ever, I don't know if you all had this with your family, but my family being in the UK or all around the world, we were setting up Zoom calls. And so I felt, it was making space for that. And that's when I felt like my chapter 2 started to start meaning something to me. It was meaning that I spent more time with my family. Health, my health mattered and my family's health mattered. Making space instead of like going through the rat race of everyday life.
Yes.
It was pausing and saying, it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't need to be a grind. It can just be those small moments that you really appreciate. And I've come out of that now knowing what I really want in life. So I think that was a pivotal time for me.
Wow. Love that. That's so relatable and so powerful, right? Because I feel like when the world stopped, I just remember the overwhelming feeling of like relief, even though it was awful conditions.
Yes.
But there was some relief in like not having to go to everything or show up to everything, or I remember like the feeling of my circle becoming so much smaller and loving that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly
I can relate.
it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just about like, prior to that, it was, having a conversation with my son at 8:00 at night to drive him to soccer and saying, how's school today? Whereas in those moments, it was like, I could pick him up from school at 3:00.
Yes.
Because I wasn't doing that commute and being bogged down with a routine. I was still getting 150% of my work done. It was just in a different way. And now I realize that matters to me. Like I had to go through that to understand what mattered and what didn't.
It sounds like both of those kind of pivotal moments you just shared with us, you starting at Lululemon and being kind of indoctrinated into this practice of goal setting, and then going through the pandemic, were real kind of perspective shifts for you and kind of allowed you to kind of hit pause on that day-to-day grind or rat race, or they sound so negative, but you just get into, kind of almost having blinders on a little bit, not pulling back and looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think having the foundational knowledge of how to set goals, and then having experience to marry that up with, it's kind of led me. It was an evolution. It wasn't just me sitting in a room at a period of time in my life and saying, this is what I want. It was something that was experiences that kind of really came to life for me. So
And so, how were you able to? You shared that it was really hard for you to write goals, which I think a lot of people experience that. It can be
Mhm.
very overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
It was part of our practice at Lululemon. So, for us, it's
Right.
become second nature. But I do
Yeah.
hear that a lot from people.
Yeah.
So, how were you able to overcome that? How did you get to a place where you were sitting down and writing goals that meant something to you and weren't just because I did the same thing at first, too. I was writing down I was going to run the Seawees or something like
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
pure insanity.
Yeah.
So how were you able to get to a place where you were writing meaningful goals for yourself?
I've become such a goal-oriented person, and the littlest things matter to me. And I love like incentives at the end of something that I can work really hard at. So for example, I will say in one of my goals, it will be like if I work really hard for the next 3 months, I can take a really nice vacation, but something that lights me up. So I set myself actually mini goals. It feels still like the 10-year goal mark is too far. The 5-year goal mark is too far, but the 1-year goal
Mm.
is very attainable. So, I mean, we all saw it that nobody predicted a pandemic. And if I had written my goals, I mean, the world has changed. So I just
Mhm.
find that writing that so far ahead, so
Right.
much can change. Whereas making it so like real in the 1-year mark it's something that you can just achieve in like 3-month time frames. And if
Right.
you need to change them, you can. And so that's been something that's really mattered to me, like doing things that really excite me in 3-month time frames that eventually will lead to that 1-year goal
Mhm.
mark.
So true. I think I actually read research recently. I can't remember who who it was by, but it was talking about goal setting and that this idea of just what you were saying, setting long term or BHAG goals that
Mm.
it's important to stretch yourself, but if you're setting goals that are too big and you're not able to break it down and achieve small little steps, can actually ultimately derail you or you lose your motivation. That through research, it's much more motivational and achievable to do kind of break it down into small increments
Yes.
or steps or time frames, right?
Yes. It's so hard with goals because I think there's so much competing research and information. Like I recently read an article where it was like smart goals are bad. They're out. They don't work. And I'm like, what? That's how we were taught to set them. And then, like this one is like, don't send 10-year visions and some. So I feel like to your point, Azzy, it's like you just have to go with like what feels right for me
Yeah.
right now,
Yeah.
And sometimes you might be in a place where you're like, I actually want to set a goal for 5 years. Like, here's where I see us in 5 years. And I know it's going to take a while to get here, but this is the vision.
Yeah.
But I've been in chapters in my life where it's like, yeah, I need to set a 12-month goal. Like, and that feels big enough. And that feels like challenging enough. And that's all I actually have capacity to look at right now. So
Mhm.
I think it's just good to check in with yourself and see what feels inspiring to you because we're all different.
Yeah.
Right?
You even went through a period where you just used a word, right?
Yes.
I loved that.
Yeah.
Like something that really spoke to you that you wanted
Yeah,
to.
like a theme word or how did I
Yes.
want to
Mhm.
feel this
Yeah.
year,
Yeah.
right? Like I went really rogue with goal setting,
Yeah.
but I just like lend no, I leaned into my intuition. What do you need right now? What's going to feel good for you?
Yeah.
What's going to help you still achieve or feel inspired and feel creative? So, yeah, I think that's a good idea to just check in with yourself.
Yeah. And
You
it's
know?
so individual and it
It's so
takes time.
individual.
And I just think for me, it was like cutting out the noise of like social media and what other
Mhm.
people are getting up to and like what would be the looking good goal, like what's that cool thing
Right.
that people are doing that I must be doing. It wasn't about that. It was
Right.
about, what sparked joy for me personally as an
Yes.
individual. So that was,
And like it's such good information and insight to bring into your role as the senior director of people at Monos,
yeah.
because part of your role is culture as well, right? And I know
Yes.
Monos is really putting a big stake in the ground around that.
Yes.
And it's so exciting because we know from our experience in talent acquisition, this is what draws people to companies, right?
Mhm.
And so
Yeah.
it's good for you to go into it with that lens of I'm working with individuals versus like an employee collective.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mona's is doing a really incredible job about, focusing on what matters. And it's really refreshing to work for three founders that feel so passionate about people, and, retaining great talent, hiring great talent. And so what do we need to do to make sure that that happens? So they're investing a lot of thought and putting a lot of new ideas into what that could look like.
Love that.
So that speaks my language. That's something that really excites me.
Yes.
Can you tell us quickly what Monos Travel is? Just give us the
Yeah, of course.
overview.
They're a sustainable luggage brand, but there's so much more than that. They produce like the most beautiful luggage. I'm maybe biased, but it is really beautiful, and very thoughtful luggage. So there's different purposes for each of those products that they do bring out. And we're trying to create a space for the mindful traveler. So when, travel for people could be very different. It could be for exploratory. It could be for really kind of meeting people, learning about cultures, but it's doing that mindfully, like really spending the time and giving people the space to be able to be more in the moment and take in different things as they travel. And they're also a company that really believes in giving back. So they give back 1% of their profits to, the planet or different organizations that support the planet. So that was really important for me when I picked the company, is because they're really up to some really great things and really mean it when they're putting that out there. So that's important.
Super important.
So great.
And what was the sustainability factor? Is that with the product itself, or is that the giving back piece you just spoke about?
Actually,
Both.
Yes. The product, the every material that we pick, like we just had a meeting yesterday about what happens to our like materials that we're not using. How do we recycle them? What do we do with luggage that maybe the zipper was wrong, or maybe the color came out a little bit different? So how do we donate that and make sure that it's not just being wasteful? So there's a lot of conversation around making sure that we're really thoughtful about everything that we're doing, and that we're not just doing it for the sake of being the greatest product out there, but making sure that we are the greatest product out there with doing it the right way, in an ethical way, and making sure our factory people are well looked after, that they are an extension of our head office. So every piece of it just feels right. So
love it. And so I did purchase a suitcase and a carry-on in this tan color.
Yes.
It's so beautiful.
I can't wait. Do you have it already?
Yeah, I got it from my Australia trip.
Like
at
from
the start
last
of the
year. Yes.
It was actually this year.
Okay. I'm in a time
And the color is
vortex.
so impractical, which I love, because it's this beautiful tan color. So it's like they're the perfect Instagrammable suitcases. So I'm really happy to hear that they're also sustainable and contributing back to the planet. And then the packing cubes are a game changer. So you can like buy these additional packing cubes, and you can just fit more in your suitcase. I'm really happy. And what are we getting that we love, that we saw that you
want the duffel.
The duffel.
And it's so nice. And I'm traveling with it on Sunday, so I'll tell you exactly how the functionality is. But it's so beautiful. Like you can fit your laptop in there, and I have a big laptop, so there's a really lovely pocket for that.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And there's a detachable component to it as well.
I'm going to order them for today for us, Alicia, okay?
That's what I wanted to get out of it.
Okay, great.
So we touched on this briefly, but what ultimately drew you to this brand? You mentioned how important your career is to you, how pivotal that has been in your chapter too. So what? Because I know you were really intentional about joining this brand, and what was it about it that got you there?
A few things, actually. So what I learned I worked at Lululemon, huge, well-oiled machine, went to Cactus Club, mid-sized, well-oiled machine. But what I did learn at Cactus Club, and what they allowed me to do there, was build a function.
Right.
And I was in my element. Like I learned that I loved building things from nothing. And so when the opportunity at Monos came about, number one, I love retail. I love product. I love owner-led businesses. So my entire career, I've worked for owner-led businesses.
Right.
And I think there's something about when an owner is working for the business day to day, the passion, the attention to detail really comes alive. Like, I think it's, if you have a CEO that kind of has come in midway, it's just different for me personally. I just find that it's different. And so I've been really fortunate that I joined Lululemon right when Chip Awesome was actually bowing out, but still his values were still there. The same with Cactus Club Cafe. Richard Jaffrey was a big part of the day-to-day decision making.
Yes.
And then meeting Victor, Hubert, and Dan, 3 founders of Monos, I instantly knew that they were young, entrepreneurial, fun, uber smart, like really smart in a very like authentic way. And the biggest thing for me was that they were humble. Like that's such a big piece for me, is that, having that humbleness to be like, okay, let's try things. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, let's not do it again. And there's no judgment. So I think that was a big piece. And having the trust and the autonomy to build something was very important. So that was kind of what led me there. I remember for my interview, I had an interview with like the whole team, and it just felt so natural.
It was very stressful for me to hear about this. You have a dinner? Like you had a dinner with everybody and the board?
Yes. But it felt, it felt so natural being on that table. It just felt like I was a part of the team already.
You belong there.
So it's my calling.
Oh, I love that. That's so great.
So happy for you. What else do you want to know?
Can we do her lightning round?
Yeah, right. Did you start this?
No.
Neither did I. Did you start this? The timer? I did? Okay.
So it's lightning round time.
It's lightning round time.
Woo woo! No preparation, lightning round questions. Azmina Kara. Out of all my girlfriends, you're the one that's been married the longest. 16 years. Tell us, what's the secret?
Communication.
Say more.
I was just going to say that.
Well, first of all, my husband's, I think, pretty awesome.
He is.
But I think where we've jived the most is being open and honest with each other. Like if we're feeling something, we say it. But we spend a lot of time together.
Right.
So being able to have really clear, good communication has been key in our marriage, I think. So that's been.
And so when you say clear, do you just mean direct? Like you just call it like it is?
It's comfortable. We just know each other so well now that I'll say something, he'll just know what I mean by that. Sometimes I don't even have to say anything and he just knows how I'm feeling. Like it's just that
you guys are
direct
adorable.
or non-direct communication.
Cute.
Okay, do you have your phone near you?
I can.
I need it for my next lightning round question.
Okay.
Edit out this right time.
Okay.
I want to know what the last thing was that you ordered on Amazon.
Oh, my laptop case.
Really? You know that off the top of your head?
I do.
What were you hoping for there, Alicia?
I don't know. I think it's a revealing question.
Is
and
it
you
though?
Dove in
What was the last thing you
first.
ordered?
I don't know.
Let us know.
I have a problem, so I can't even
I
remember.
want to hear. Because I saw this question that you wrote down. I thought, where is she going with this?
Yeah.
And I'm very curious to see what she's been up to on Amazon.
I ordered a I don't even know what you call this, like a bath mat, like so that kids don't slip in the bath. And it's got seahorses and starfish on it.
Okay, got it. It's a very interesting question. I've never heard it before. And let's keep working with it with other guests and see if we can get something really
at some
juicy.
point I'm going to go, that's why I asked it.
Yes, and that's what I'm really looking forward to.
What else do you got?
I want to know, this is a great question. What is something that Alicia and I do not know about you?
Oh my God, you guys know everything about me. Well, I learned something new about Tess today.
This is exactly how I
segue.
want this question to go.
I thought we knew each other so well, but today I learned something new about you. So I'm going to turn this around, actually, even though I'm not the host.
Couldn't be happier.
Tess was a finalist or a top 10 finalist on American Idol.
Australian Idol.
Australian Idol.
Like she lived in the house. They all lived together in a house.
This is
Okay, it
getting
wasn't called
better.
Australian Idol.
Okay.
So
this
I'm
is
not
good. Tell me more.
I'm not going to say what it was called.
At least she's not denying it like
Yeah,
she did
like,
20
it was
minutes
not
ago.
called Australian Idol. I was extremely young.
But you actually did a little bit of a warm up before we started, and I was blown away by your voice. So I'm
Okay.
not at all
Okay.
surprised.
Okay.
I'm so into
You
this
also
right
did
now.
a warm up. We did a duet, and we were both very bad. Which
I
is
believe
why
Brayden
I'm
uttered,
not a singer,
"Oh my God."
and I have this damn job at 1111 Talent. Okay,
I'm not convinced. Like I'm gonna package you up somehow. I'm gonna
Okay.
make money off of
Chris
this voice.
Jenner over here.
Yes, 100%, 10%.
Okay, so nice way to dodge the question. So let's end with: do you have any tattoos?
No,
Will you be
None.
open to
Can we
getting
but
change
one
that?
I would be open to getting one. A
Oh.
small one.
with us?
Yeah.
Okay.
What about-
I would do it with you too.
11:11.
I would do it with you too.
Okay, we can workshop the idea what we get.
Yeah.
I wonder if we could get like a tattoo person in the podcast studio with us.
That's a great idea. Brandon,
Brayden, our good friend Brayden,
from the Podfather.
the Podfather.
Do you have tattoo abilities? It's a head shake as a no. Okay, got it. We'll find somebody.
Amazing. Azmina Kara, it's been a slice. It's been a
Thank
pleasure.
you. That
Thank
was
you
really fun.
so
Thank
much.
you for having
Thank you for being
me.
vulnerable and sharing with us and
May God bless
supporting
you.
us. And
Thank you.
May God bless you.
So fun.
we love you.
Thank you.
Toodles.
Toodles!
You guys, you're a natural.
Well, I didn't say.
You did so good. I never thought, like, I know you guys are super confident
Blacked
speakers,
out.
but that was like mind blowing.
Oh my God.
You did so great.
You
That was
are mine.